What about Tom Brady, the collector? Like, is there any does he like, have you seen him rip packs? Is there stuff that you've noticed something like, tell us about Tom, the collector?
Yeah, so I think Tom the Collector is really in chapter one right now, which I think is amazing because that's really what we're setting out to do. Outside of building an amazing retail experience for our customers, an amazing shopping experience for our customers, an amazing entry point for non-collectors, outside of all the things that we're setting out to do as our core mission, I think one of the really cool parts about this new partnership with Tom is we get to tell Tom's collecting journey and we get to show the world Tom's collecting journey. Now, that doesn't mean he hasn't been a collector. That doesn't mean he isn't a collector. He is. And the stories about him collecting since he was a kid and baseball cards being really like all he's ever spent his money on up until college, 100% true, still has a lot of that stuff. And I think one of the other cool things is that he has also been collecting and just holding on to some of his own stuff over the years.
Jameel Muhammad and Jeff Cardozo dive into the hobby, which is sports cards, trading cards, as well as all other collectibles, right now on the Meelypod Hobby Podcast, live from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill.
Hey, everybody out there in podcast listening land. It is time once again for the Meelypod Hobby Podcast. We are in different spots today. I, Jeff Cardozo, and Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, our normal home base, but Jameel's got another gig, so he is up in South Carolina getting ready for a big weekend, which we'll talk about here in a second. But Jameel Muhammad, of course, alongside. We've got another great guest for you. Chris Costa is going to join us, and he obviously is a part of the biggest card stores and collectible places in the entire country, and a pretty sweet deal with Tom Brady has made him certainly in the limelight. This guy's always in the limelight. He's got people beating down the door to get in that South Carolina shop. So let's chat with him now. Jameel, what's up, man?
What's up, man? I just got picked up the phone before we started, and a guy was trying to sell me all his 80s and 90s baseball cards. He wanted to bring them in, so I told him to come see you because you have a pretty extensive collection of 80s and 90s Topps and Donruss and Fleer. So no, things are good. It's cold up here in South Carolina. I'm starting to feel it in my bones, buddy. 30s and 40s aren't normal for us. So, but it's great. It's great. Shop is great up here. Everyone is just excited about cards, excited about the hobby. And we have this big card show this weekend. So looking forward to it.
Going to be great. Speaking of 80s and 90s, I was scrolling through my YouTube TV last night because it was such a big sports weekend. Then finally Monday, there's not really much going on, but Major League was on. So that was exciting. It was like a whole 80s night of movies, and then they had Caddyshack after that, and we're doing a lot of different things. So those are always the fun nights. But I know it's going to be fun up there for the Upstate card show. So tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so we've had the show now. This will be our third iteration of the show, and every show's been very different. And so first show was kind of like we had no idea what was going to happen with it, just kind of new to this area. Great attendance. Second show, we did right smack dab in the middle of college football season here in the South. But we had, autograph signers and really went all out and had a great just showing. Had people from all over the Southeast show up. We even had our friend Kik Stradamus come from California and just do some really cool things. But Joanne and I kind of met after that show and said, let's kind of shift some things back more where it's focused on cards, grading, kids, community, and not so much of a hyper focus on the autograph side. So this show, we decided not to have autograph guests, which I think is going to be fine. But we focus more on vendors, focus more on, doing some unique things with this store. It's our 1 year anniversary it was on February 2nd. So we are hosting kind of a 1 year anniversary celebration as well as the card show. So it'll be kind of a fun atmosphere. I think we're going to host some free breaks for people. So when they come in, they sign up for free breaks at the front. We'll do breaks throughout the show where people can get spots or random teams or Pokemon packs inside of booster boxes. And that's just going to be a lot of fun. I don't know of a card show that does that. So having free breaks is going to be a ton of fun. And then just being about the hobby. So Topps Hobby Rip Night is also on Saturday, and we're going to have a Topps Hobby Rip Night here with lots of deals and sales and exclusives and kind of a little behind the scenes. A lot of the Topps Hobby Rip Night stuff, if you do get an athlete or a guest to your shop, you don't really know until that week of. So We haven't been confirmed for one or not this iteration of it. But the crazy thing is we might, and so you just kind of got to roll with the punches on that and be flexible if you do get a guess. So we'll see what happens this weekend at either our Florida shop or South Carolina shop. But Topps Hobby Rip Night's just kind of a fun community event, and it's really, that's one thing I think about, Jeff, is like this is the culmination of hobby community. You have card show, you have free stuff going on, you have a focus on kids, you have a focus on ripping and wax, you have Topps getting involved. So it is it's definitely a fun time for us up here in South Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a perfect day to me. I'll be at the ballpark, which is always, perfect in my world with college baseball getting going. Gosh, we're seeing stuff now happening with Major League Baseball. Guys were reporting to spring training. You're starting to get videos of Shohei throwing bullpens, and it's like everybody in the world's got to watch him throw a bullpen and some of the things that are happening. But so I guess happy anniversary too, by the way. I missed saying happy anniversary on the 1 year. I'll give you a gift when you get back.
Thanks. All right, maybe a smooch on the cheek or something.
Yeah, that'd be good. Finally, the Mets smooched Pete Alonso. He gets the 2-year deal, and you figured that was going to happen. It's like you can't imagine Pete anywhere else. But I guess I wonder now with Shohei. Certainly we talked when he was with the Dodgers last year and the impact that made. But now you've got Soto with the Mets, and now Pete with the Mets. Like, do all of a sudden, maybe those guys being together, does that help Pete's cards or different things now that he's re-signed, or it's just kind of stagnant until, maybe what happens with the regular season?
I think there was a little bit of hesitancy with his cards. People weren't sure what was going to happen, right? Because the organization was kind of saying that we don't know if we want it. It's like, come on, this is a polar bear. This is one of your quintessential, pillars of Metsdom. And so he's there. I think now there's kind of it's cool because all of his autograph cards have been in Mets uniform. If he was traded right now, you're going to have that kind of weirdness of, I don't want him in that jersey, I want him in the new jersey. So I'm excited to see what happens with him and Soto, and being a Gator and being somebody that we follow his career. It's going to be awesome to see. Card wise though, man, I will say with baseball, things are definitely starting to pick up. Selling a lot of baseball. We just had an opportunity at the Space Coast card show. I sent one of our team members down there, and he set up, and he was telling me that people were just buying baseball like crazy. And I think in our state, baseball is just a massive, entity because of spring training and things. But I'm excited because this is a uniqueness to baseball that I've never seen before, where we didn't really see a huge dip in card values like we had in years past from, let's say, late October, November, December, January, because that's when typically people have been buying baseball. It's kind of remained somewhat steady, and now we're starting to see the uptick. So who knows what happens from now until opening day? Card values may increase quite a bit. So for those of you who are thinking about grading cards and sending cards off, be mindful of that, because you have that window of opportunity when it comes from the acceleration up until opening day. And then opening day, if you don't look good those first 2, 3, 4 games, your stuff really does come down. But then if you look good, stuff accelerates even more. So it's one of these things that I always watch with baseball. Series 1 came out last week, Jeff, Top Series 1, and it's been a fun rip. The value on the product has gone up from around $95, $100 a box to like $110, $115 a box, which is saying something, because usually when Top Series 1 comes out, the flagship, you're going to see a drop in price after that first week or two. We've seen the opposite of that. We've seen an increase in price. So that's definitely very exciting for me to see on a lower end product that we're seeing the value increase on it, and that's showing me that they're putting better stuff in it. Hey, they also, I don't know if I told you, but they have City Connect Jersey patch autos this year. They've never done it. So that's a pretty cool kind of card that you can hit out of Top Series 1.
Yeah, it would be pretty special. What else is cool? It made me think of it when you were talking about early season and how you do in the first couple weeks. You watch some of these college kids now, and I'm watching, and the Gators had a guy that ended up getting 5 hits in his first 6 at bats. So you look on the scoreboard, and he's hitting like 850. So it's like, man, parents need to take a picture of that. Look how good my kid is. He's hitting 850. That's, breaking every record imaginable out there. And then, of course, you have a bad week and you come back down to earth. But now, I mean, I'm sure everybody wants his autograph after the first weekends. All these little kids are racing out for that. So that's fun. But speaking of autographs, I hear there's an issue with maybe some fakes out there with a big-time name. What's going on there?
Yeah, so that's a wild kind of situation to think that in 2025, with all the ways that we can detect fake autographs and see autographs that are not legitimate, for someone on this level Some people would call him the GOAT of soccer. But Lionel Messi having autographs that are not being authenticated by PSA, and good on PSA for catching this. But Messi signed in a high-end product that came out not too long ago. I think it was like 6 or 8 months ago. Topps Dynasty Soccer, really big high-end soccer product. They hadn't made Dynasty for soccer in a long time. And what happened is people were starting to send in some of the redemption and the autographs that he had not signed yet. And PSA was saying, we can't put this in a slab. We can't certify this autograph as being legit. Now, I guess I could understand players doing that with like lower end stuff. And I know the players don't always necessarily know where these autographs are going, but these are hard signed cards. They're on card autographs. They're patch autographs, really unique and higher end pieces. So to kind of see that happening and come out in the news is been quite alarming for the soccer community specifically. The rumor is his brother is signing those autographs. So I don't know if that's true or not. We've had a lot of these issues in the past. Everyone remembers the Dak Prescott rookie season auto pen issue where he had an auto pen machine literally sign his autograph, and every single card looked the exact same. And then they realized, hey, he didn't do this, and he came out and said, hey, I take responsibility for it. So we'll see what happens with Messi. Hopefully he can make a statement about it. Hopefully Topps will make a statement about it and do the right thing. But I guess when they send these cards to these players, it's really just a honor system that, if they're going to be doing it properly. So yeah, that's what's going on with the Messi side, man. It's wild.
Yeah, that is crazy. Well, speaking of doing the right thing, the All-Star game was this weekend in the NBA, and they tried a different format, a lot of different stuff going on. But a guy that I got to see in person a couple of months ago, Wemby, actually tried, and it seemed like it was like this. Why is this guy trying? You're supposed to have fun, and all these other things, and he cared. So I wonder if now that has an effect in the industry. Does people say, okay, well, this guy's really good, he wants to compete, he wants to do some special stuff? Do we see, and I'm sure it's already absurd with some of the Wemby prices anyway and finding his stuff, but does that even make it more valuable with what he did over the weekend?
I think he gained a lot of fans, right? I mean, this is a interesting kind of dynamic. We don't have football right now. And shout out to the Eagles and our good buddy Michael Collins for winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
We haven't had a chance to talk about that since that happened. But with Wembanyama, to kind of if you just kind of zoom out for a second and you look at the All-Star game, there was there was nothing in that game or that whole weekend that seemed like it was professional outside of maybe Wembanyama, right? He seemed like the guy. There's even, beforehand, he came in, he had a book, and Jokic was making fun of him for reading a book, in the locker room. And these are kind of funny things, but you can kind of tell with Wemby, he means business. And he even said, I'm going to really be playing out there. When they lost their game, you could see how upset he was with Sengun let Jason Tatum go and get the dunk to win that game. And he was really competing. So what does that mean for, his favorability, his popularity? I think he gained a lot of XP, as the kids would say, as he's really leveled up and matured. And so I think we've always known him to be a mature player, but to see it on that level, another guy too that I saw that with was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, kind of really, being locked into that game as well. So these young guys, I think they really want it. And that's to me as a collector and as a card shop owner, I want to see that out of these young players that are going to take the mantle over. But, they still have to go up against, Steph Curry, and he's shooting half-court threes and making it in his home city. So it's pretty wild to watch. But to answer your question, man, I do think you're seeing a little bit more popularity in terms of Wemby. I'm hearing that chatter. I've been watching the prices on secondary market. And so we know there's a ton of cards, but there's only going to be so many of the real big cards. And so let's see how that high-end does, because I think that's going to, really play out, moving forward.
Yeah, very interesting. And then the last thing, I know we're going to talk a lot of Tom Brady here with our guests in just a few minutes, but what's that impact? I mean, we see him now calling the Super Bowl, and certainly the GOAT of playing that position and being involved with the Raiders now and all these other things. Seems like he's taken over the world, and it's just crazy what's happening with Tom Brady right now.
I think about two people that have become very relevant post-career in football, and it's Jason Kelce and it's Tom Brady, right? These guys are literally everywhere. And they have the personality, and they have the, Brady side. He has the charisma and the charm and the good looks, so he's bringing in the lady audience as well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But, even with Kelce, look at him and, hosting this kind of late night show, and his wife and him having a podcast, his wife having her own podcast. it's just a unique situation right now with after how these athletes are structuring themselves. And we'll talk to Chris a little bit about that. Maybe we can get kind of insight on what Tom Brady, the businessman, is really like, because I think, we've known him as to be the LFG guy and, locked in and just always intense in everything he does. You can see that carrying forward. So I'm excited to see how Tom Brady, and we're going to talk about this news here in just a second with Chris. You got probably the most recognizable face to the NFL ever, who now is taking a 50% ownership in card shops, Card Vault. Chris will tell us more about all this. And it's now been rebranded as Card Vault by Tom Brady. I think this is a massive, massive win for the card world. I think to see this and to have someone that cool, that recognizable, that relevant, who is not just being a spokesperson, right? It seems like he's into cards. He's got his little box at trade days. He's talking about all the cards he pulls out. He collected cards, baseball cards back in the day in the 80s and 90s, and the greats that he does it with. So I'm really looking forward to seeing kind of how this progresses. Kudos to Chris and his team putting this together and making this happen. And we'll learn more about that in the next segment. Yeah.
So from a not so fit, chunky, fat guy running at the combine before he gets drafted to now, the impact that he's making with the world, Tom Brady has certainly done some quality things. And he won your Bucks a Super Bowl, so you will always. I'm a little partial there. Yes, yeah, a little partial there. All right, so let's get a break, and we'll get to Chris Costa when we come back. A lot of great conversation next on the Meelypod Hobby Podcast.
Albert, Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down.
This is Jameel, owner of the Meelypops shop, Gainesville's home for collectibles of all sorts, including every single type of sports cards, whether it be Panini, Topps, Leaf, Upper Deck. We have it. Come on in, get yourself a box, a pack, get yourself some supplies, get into our breaks, get your Pokemon, get your Yu-Gi-Oh! All the other different kinds of TCG products that we carry and shop are always fully in stock. You can find our stuff on our website as well, meelypops.com. That's another way you can interact with the store, or you can just come into the shop. We're located off 39th Avenue by I-75 behind Walgreens and Sonny's. Stop on by. We're open every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And you can check us out on our social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, whatnot, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We'd love to see you. Come on out to the shop, have some fun, be a part of the card community here in Gainesville, and always go Gators.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Meelypod Hobby Podcast. I'm still here hanging out at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Gainesville. Jameel up in South Carolina. Time to bring in our guest now. And, Jameel has hyped up Chris Costa quite a bit from many things. And, I think I'm going to like this guy too. Baseball guy and, a lot of roots up there in the Northeast. So, Jameel, take it away.
Yeah, Chris and I have gone back a little bit. We got to know each other well through card shows. Kind of around the same time, Meelypops became a shop, and as he was kind of getting going with creating these shops, it all kind of avalanched around that COVID time. And if there's one guy in the hobby that you want to meet that's just genuine through and through about things, it's this guy that we're going to bring on here in a second. And we're lucky to have Chris with us, co-founder and managing partner of Card Vault by Tom Brady, which we're going to talk about in just a moment. But I think he just came in on the virtual. So, Chris, what's up, man?
Hey, fellas. Hey, Jameel. Hey, Jeff. Good to see you guys. Thanks for having me.
Me too.
Pumped to be here.
Of course, man. Yeah, it's a little chipper in South Carolina, but what's the weather up in the Northeast right now?
Not good. It's very cold. I'm extremely jealous of both of you right now. It's like in the 20s. It's blowing hard. It's ugly.
It's ugly.
80,
yeah,
80 here today. We're playing baseball tonight.
Perfect. Oh, that's great.
Gotta love that. Gotta love that smile. Well, I gotta jump right into it, man. I'm really excited. Like, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm really excited for you and what the news is that's been broken recently about what Card Vault, this card shop that started that then became multiple card shops working on a fourth project, partners with a guy that I got to see you interact with it at Fanatics Fest that everybody knows in Tom Brady. And then this announcement comes out that Tom Brady is now partnering with Card Vault, 50% partner to be not a spokesperson, to not be just a figurehead, but to be someone invested on the business side of the hobby. And so congratulations, first off, man. I really would love to know, like, what do you think this means for the hobby?
Yeah, well, first off, thank you. Obviously Tom coming on board and being involved in our business as of last week is fairly monumental. I would say it's not just monumental for us, but I think it's monumental for the entire hobby. And it's extremely special, I think, when it just comes to our story and our Genesis story, where, we started at Gillette Stadium. That's where our business as Card Vault started. Our first location at Patriot Place, right outside the stadium. We've had a great relationship with the Kraft family for years now. We've had a great relationship with Tom for years now. And as the world has probably seen, or at least the collecting world has probably seen, Tom has become more and more active in the collecting world. And he's shown up on collecting content and talking about his autograph, and some rumors about him collecting his own cards, and the stories about him collecting as a kid. And it's just a space that he's excited about, which I think is the most exciting part of the whole story. Tom Brady is excited about sports cards and collectibles, and excited enough to see us as somebody that he wants to partner with based off what we're doing in the space. So I think Tom being in collectibles and sports cards is monumental for all of us. I think it's a seal of approval, a stamp of approval, if you will, as far as all the work that all of us have been doing over the last 5-10 years, right? You, Jameel, myself, the Bannisters, the Andys, the Burbanks, like, we're building a real industry here. And the work that we're putting in is paying off. Cards are cool, and they are certainly here to stay.
Well, it's I think about collecting and how you and I have just loved cards our whole lives. You watch these videos with Tom with his little Zion case and pulling out a Joe Montana autograph, and talking about Gronk on cards, and it seems like, from the outsider view, he really enjoys it. So, like, I want to know, like, we all know Tom Brady, the competitor. We all know Tom Brady, the businessman. We all know Tom Brady, the announcer. What about Tom Brady, the collector? Like, is there any does he, like, have you seen him rip packs? Is there stuff that you've noticed? And, like, tell us about Tom, the collector.
Yeah, so I think Tom the collector is really in chapter 1 right now, which I think is amazing, because that's really what we're setting out to do. Outside of building an amazing retail experience for our customers, an amazing shopping experience for our customers, an amazing entry point for non-collectors, outside of all the things that we're setting out to do as our core mission, I think one of the really cool parts about this new partnership with Tom is we get to tell Tom's collecting journey, and we get to show the world Tom's collecting journey. Now, that doesn't mean he hasn't been a collector. That doesn't mean he isn't a collector. He is. And the stories about him collecting since he was a kid, and baseball cards being really, like, all he's ever spent his money on up until college, 100% true. Still has a lot of that stuff. And I think one of the other cool things is that he has also been collecting and just holding on to some of his own stuff over the years, which is something I'm super excited about kind of telling to the world. But it's really one of the core missions of ours. Outside of all the amazing things we want to do as a retailer and as a business, we really want to tell Tom's story and show his journey as a collector to the world. So all of that, I would say stay tuned. And keep your eyes peeled, because we are going to be telling some amazing stories. We are going to be showing some amazing things. Obviously, Tom is a cornerstone of the collecting world. His rookie cards, his short printed parallels, his golds, his all that good stuff. I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised as far as what that means, what it looks like, and what Tom's actually been doing over the last few years.
I just, Chris, I see you smile and just the excitement coming through that. I'm really looking forward to it as well. I know so many people are, and I just, I think about some of the smiles too, where just I'm in Jameel's shop and there's kids in there and they're opening up packs and doing different things. And he showed me a video of you actually calling Tom on Instagram, like where a young collector was in the shop, and then putting him on the phone and do it. Like, so how cool is that to just have these interactions, be able to bring that to kids? Obviously, I'm sure you got pumped when you got to sign, a random autograph back in the day, but it means so much to these kids to be able to give them these opportunities.
Yeah, I think it's one of the things that I've seen happening more and more of in our industry, which I'm the most excited about, which is the athletes and the celebrities creating amazing moments and amazing experiences for collectors and fans. I think it's one of the still largely untapped opportunities in our space, which is how do we bring athletes and collectors together and create really exciting experiences and memories and opportunities through these collectibles. And I think that's one of the things that we're going to be uniquely positioned to be able to do with Tom, is, not just create amazing experiences like I've talked about as far as the retail side goes that I think are in line with Tom's brand and our brand, but also really unlocking some unique and amazing opportunities and experiences for our customers and for collectors across the world. So the Fanatics Fest experience that we gave to Nolan, who's one of our customers, was absolutely something that I'll always treasure and remember. I think it's something that you're going to see a lot more of from us as far as giving our customers in new markets that we're opening up in amazing opportunities. But that's the stuff I think makes our industry so special, is we now have the ability, again, because cards are now cool again, and because cards are mainstream, we have the ability to lean on guys like Mike Trout, to lean on guys like Tom Brady, to lean on guys like Derek Jeter and Peyton Manning. And, all of these A-listers are now willing and able to participate in all the cool things that we're doing around sports cards and the little pieces of cardboard that we all love.
The experience is what you tapped into there, man. And that's when something, you and I growing up in the, and Jeff too, 80s, 90s, 2000s, as we look and we're in the card shops, the experience was great. The atmosphere was great. But now it seems like this experience has become next level, like you're talking about. And Card Vault, for those who aren't familiar with the brand, go check out all the different things going on with Card Vault, because you got experiential at Foxwoods, you got experiential at TD, you got experiential at Gillette, where these shops are set up around this atmosphere it's almost like a constant community. One thing here in South Carolina, we got a shop right outside these basketball courts where Zion played and Ja played, and the experience and it permeates sports, right? I think. And just correct me if I'm wrong, but watching from afar, man, I'm looking at the standard that Card Vault has created for like card shops. And an area that really stands out to me as someone who's just kind of analyzing and watching what's going on in the hobby is that you guys have figured out a way to introduce new audiences to the hobby. And then I think that in itself is an amazing thing. Card Vault Shop seems to have a unique way of kind of creating a synergy between like experiential card commerce and like transforming fans into collectors, right? Like that seems to be the model. So I got to ask you, Chris Costa, like what's the secret sauce? How do you do that effectively? Because it's not easy. And I'm not going to sit out here and tell everybody like, oh, go start a shop. You can create experience. It's really like, what's the secret sauce behind that, and share what you can.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That has 100% been our mission since day one, which is, elevate the sports card experience, create amazing and well-designed spaces, and offer something a little bit different. What that mission and path has turned into, I think, is really interesting, and some of the turns and the audibles we've made. But the mission remains the same. It's convert fans into collectors, right? There's over 150 going on 160 plus million people a year in the United States that are attending live sporting events. 2, 3, maybe 4% of those people are actually actively collecting. So how do we close that gap? And how do we convert the fan into a collector and grow our industry and continue to grow our industry and create more collectors? That's mission number one. Mission number two is provide an approachable, educational, accessible experience to those folks that makes them want to come back, and then go shop at the local hobby shops, the local card shops, and create more customers for all of mine and your friends, right? Like our best friends operate card shops across the country. How do we create more customers for them? So the way we've been doing that is focusing on design, focusing on merchandising, focusing on education, and all of that is really built on people. So how do you find the right people and bring the right people into the Card Vault team that are buying into the vision, that are able to execute the mission, and that are trustworthy? We're in a very unique space with a lot of unique SKUs and items with a lot of value. And we've been very, very lucky and super blessed to be able to bring in folks that we trust, to bring in folks that are able to carry out that mission, and that have really been the catalyst to helping us grow and expand. And we feel like we have a really good playbook as far as identifying that talent and bringing that talent in. But that's really the secret sauce. It's, understand the mission, stick to the mission, and bring in people that are willing and able to carry it out and execute on it.
Yeah, Chris, those numbers are fascinating. I mean, just to hear that, and 160 million, and then just such a small percentage. I guess because you're around it, and maybe around sports, you don't realize that it is such a minute number of people trying to get in it. So I guess then what's next? I mean, you have I actually got to go to Foxwood. I played summer ball in Connecticut my first year, so I was close to that, and then the Cape. So kind of that area I love. But what's the rest of the United States like? I know you probably have all these opportunities now, and maybe the collaboration with Tom and doing some different things. Are there opportunities for big cities to now be involved in what you're doing and have that growth?
Yeah. Absolutely. And, when it comes to the mission, I keep coming back to the mission. Our mission as a company is, certainly convert fans into collectors. How do you do that? Well, we believe strongly in what we call venue adjacent. So where possible, we are always going to prioritize venue adjacent sports card store opportunities. That means, card vault outside of TD Garden, which we already have, card vault outside of Gillette Stadium, which we already have. We're talking about, card vaults in major cities with, major sports footprints, Dallas and Houston and LA and San Francisco and Chicago. These are markets that are already strong, right? But have a lot of local card shops in the surrounding suburbs that we firmly believe could benefit from an increase in collector traffic, an increase in collectors in general. So how do you do that? Well, you put sports cards right in front of them when they're going to the Mavericks game, when they're going to the Cubs game, when they're going to the Niners game. Put sports cards right in their face. And the fans, as we all know, because we're all fans, you're going to be drawn to collecting. It's the greatest experience you can have as a sports fan. And unfortunately, one of the biggest barriers is that most fans just don't know how to get started. They don't know where to go. They don't know where to look. They're a little bit intimidated by their local card shop, or they're maybe a little confused, or, hey, I collected in the 80s and I've got boxes and closets full of, 1989 and 1990 complete sets, but they were left to me by my uncle. How much are they worth? Well, I found out they weren't worth much, so I'm kind of bummed out about collecting. Well, hey, let's tell you about why you should be excited. There's so many nuances and unique little spaces inside of our space that are, I think, it's such an opportunity to attract so many different types of people. The vintage crowd and why vintage collecting is so unique and exciting, or the TCG crowd and why, Pokemon is this amazing collector community, or modern baseball prospecting and why that's got its own unique and amazing draw to it. Or, hey, I want to treat cards like investments. I want to treat it like the stock market. I want to invest in Michael Jordan and LeBron James and Mickey Mantle and, Patrick Mahomes. There's so many different twists and turns in our industry. We just got to get the information out there. The way to do that, put them in front of eyeballs and do that at all these venues that these fans are attending.
Awesome.
It's going to be exciting to see just kind of the growth in that, Chris. You said something that I think was so just wise. The old sports card model was get the customer inside your shop and then it's done. But the new sports card model for a shop owner, I believe, is that's when the work begins, is when that person enters your shop. There's so much in the world of education, and there's so much in the world of miseducation, in that people that they don't understand cards. And we as card shop owners know that we're not just the only competition, our own shops. And I think you talk a lot about synergy, and how we all can kind of help each other out in this awesome ecosystem. But we're going to have to deal with the GameStops and people just going to, grade cards there. Well, why not come to a card shop and grade? Well, let me explain why. We're going to have to deal with the people who, might have broke with somebody that's shady on a platform, and, they're going to be turned off to all cards. And we're going to tell them, hey, look, there's honest breakers. Here's honest breakers. And we also break as a shop. So there's this world now where the work just begins when we get these customers in. And the one word that comes to mind is authenticity when I think about that, and that's what you permeated in almost everything you've done. You've been authentic and true to the hobby. I think I'd love to ask you, how important is it in this climate today in 2025 to be authentic, truly, in the hobby, and maybe how that permeates into how you run your business?
Yeah, I think I got a really lucky start when you think about just kind of collecting as maybe when it went beyond a hobby for me. It's always a hobby. I love it. It's at the core of what I love. But obviously, at some point along the road, cards became a business. And then this became the business that, I decided to spend my time and life in. I got a very lucky start where I was surrounded with people that were honest and truthful and helping and compassionate to me. You're one of them, Jameel, and Andy at Indie Card Exchange, and Bannister at RBI Crew, and Mike at MC, and got so lucky to have people welcome me into their circle that just right out of the gate, it just kind of created this sense of you gotta treat this industry differently than any other. And then with it, there's all the nuance that this industry has and how confusing it can be to a newcomer, and how much room there is to make mistakes and to trip up, or to buy the wrong card, or to invest in the wrong player, or to, buy the wrong product, and because I'm not being told or given the right guidance. So when we started the retail business, it became very clear very quickly that educating people and giving people the right guidance and advice, even if that means pointing them towards someone else. And hey, your best bet to do that or to get that type of product is a couple miles down the road. Or, hey, your best bet to, find X player is at my buddy's shop, a few towns over. And having that mentality and that approach builds trust. And in an industry that can be so confusing and overwhelming, trust is the ultimate factor. And being able to build trust with your colleagues, with your customers, with your partners in this space, I think is more paramount than it is in any other industry, because the only way these people that we want to collect and that we want to enter the market and enter the industry are going to do so and stay is to feel like they have somebody they can trust that knows more than them. That's the bottom line. If these people have somebody that they can go to who they believe knows more than them, that they can trust, that's how they stay. So it's up to me, it's up to you, it's up to Andy, it's up to Bannister, it's up to MC, it's up to Rob and Ryan at Burbank to be the trustworthy sources of honest and clean information. And yeah, unfortunately, there are some bad apples and some bad eggs in our space, as there isn't any kind of blossoming or booming industry. But it's up to us to be the source of truth. And we've always firmly believed that. It's how our staff is trained. It's more about the customer than it is about the dollar. And if you follow that mantra, it's going to take you where you need to go no matter what.
Yeah, Chris, it's so great to hear, and Jameel knows this. I mean, we've talked about it, and all those guys that I've been able to get introduced, and now yourself, is just how that community is just so great with each other, and just how much they care, and then the trust factor, like you're saying, it's pretty special, and it makes me want to get out of all my gigs and just go do card stuff and hang out with you guys all day. But one of those gigs is fun. I get to do some stuff on the radio. I know you've got some family in radio doing some great things. So as you have followed that growing up, or now the world you get to be into with podcasts or just emceeing or introducing or doing different things, how do you think that's helped you as a card owner?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly grew up around radio studios and television studios. My father's a broadcast Hall of Famer up here in New England, and was recently introduced or inducted into the Broadcast Hall of Fame. He hosts the big morning radio show out here in Boston, and has been doing television for the last 25 years. So I grew up around it. I grew up in a television studio. I grew up in a radio studio. So I kind of got a good feel for what that world is all about. It's what, kind of sent me down my education path when I was off at school. I majored in sports broadcast, and here I am in sports cards. I don't know if that happens. But to answer your question, I think it certainly helps me be comfortable and confident in settings like these, right? To be able to convey the messages that we want to convey, and to be able to do so, with a clear head and confidently, which I think is super important, especially in the industry that we're in, right? Because I think there's another gear that we can all get to when it comes to messaging and communicating to the public what we do, what we are about, what the future of our industry is, why it's cool, why it matters. I think that's one of the reasons that it took so long to get to where it is even today, is that there wasn't a lot of clear marketing and communication and promotion of what's amazing in our space. That's obviously taken a huge change over the last 4 or 5 years, especially with Fanatics and Tops, who have a real marketing engine behind them, kind of putting those words out there. But having people in our space that are doing big things, or trying to do big things, that are able to also clearly and articulately communicate, ironically, as I can't articulate what I'm trying to say, but being able to clearly articulate what their goal, mission, and really, purpose is, I think is super, super important. There's a lot of amazing creators in our space. There's a lot of amazing voices in our space, but I don't think there's enough. And I think that skill set, being able to communicate, being able to articulate your mission, your goal, what your purpose is, what your business's purpose is, super, super important. And there's some really, really good, talented people in our space, but we need more. We need a lot more. We need bigger voices. We need bigger talent. We need bigger platforms. And we're getting there with the people that we have. But I guess this is my invitation to anybody out there in the world of broadcasting or sports media, like sports cards and collectibles. It's such an opportune platform for a voice and voices, and it's uncharted waters, I think, is the best way to put it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Well said. I'm just thinking a little bit about just how proud I am of you, man. Just it's crazy to see your journey, just in cards, because I think people don't realize the ethic that people have to have in this business. They find out very quick when they open the shop or they open up their breaking business. But it's so interesting to see just kind of your journey, and now being one of these kind of forerunners for the hobby and leading the way and saying, let's do more. It gets me excited, because I think that there is so much more that we can offer. And you said, there's a subculture within the hobby where if you are in this field and you want to be a voice, there are so many niches that you can fill. One thing that we've grown in, and I know you've grown in, is just that whole non-sports world and TCG world, just seeing that the communities that come out of that and how that kind of, infuses into the card shop and that excitement and that passion.
A lot of fun things, going on in that sense. And it's really cool to see. But I puff you up because I got to bring you now to the next challenge, which is our last segment. And it's our rapid fire segment put on by Titan MRI. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you through the gauntlet, Chris. I got some questions here, and hopefully you can handle it. You up for it?
I'm up for it. Let's do it.
All right, cool. I think my AirPod just died, so let me put the volume up here.
So
all right, brother. All right, here we go. The Titan MRI rapid fire segment with the one and only Chris Costa. All right, buddy. Clam chowder or Fenway Frank?
Clam chowder, man. Come on. I mean, I love the Fenway Frank, but it's just a hot dog. Clam chowder is the dish of the region. You got to go with a good clam chowder.
The good old chowder. All right, what's the biggest massacre that you would define? The Boston Massacre or Super Bowl 59?
Oh God, 59. It was bloody. It was so bloody.
Yeah, that was a wild game. A lot of people were shocked with that finish. All right, I got to know this. This is a little Boston twist here. I know you're a shoe guy too. So have you ever worn Dunks while drinking a coffee at Dunks?
Yes, I'm sure I have. Get my donkeys, 4 sugars, couple of creamers, yeah, tall, large, iced, yeah, the whole deal.
I love it. All right, Ted Williams hit 406, 1941. We all know the record. You ever think, being a baseball guy, we'll ever see another 400 hitter?
No, I do not. I think pitching is too advanced. I think arms are too live these days. I think 400 is a thing of the past. I think it's going to be a very, very hard thing to accomplish.
Nice. I think Jeff would agree as a pitcher. He knows it. All that's going on. All right. We'll put more hair on your chest, Chris. Building the Card Vault Empire by Tom Brady, or holding down your role as senior account executive at Atlantic Semiconductor?
Wow. So backstory, Atlantic is where I got my start in the world of work coming out of college. And it was my first sales gig. It was a true boiler room, like 120 dials a day, just pounding the phones, getting my teeth kicked in. No, 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 no. So it's hard to say that didn't put the most hair on my chest, but man, I'll say this. Atlantic and my start in sales in that boiler room mentality put the hair on my chest, but building a business and building Card Vault with my partners has been, to this point, Brady partnership or not, the most rewarding experience and the most educational experience of my life. Like, I've learned more in the last 5 years than I did in the first, 30. So 5 years of knowledge outweighs the 30 years before that by a mile. But oh my God, the boiler room put the hair on my chest. Jeez.
I had to ask that one. Shout out to LinkedIn on that one. All right, Chris. So I guess this could be a question for anybody, not necessarily just Jameel. If you could visit one shop, which one would you recommend? Patriot Place, Foxwoods, or TD Garden?
Oh, of our three, I would say TD Garden, just because our next shop is always our best shop, right? We feel like we're constantly getting better and we're constantly learning so much. So we learned a ton from the first two shops. We implemented that in the third. We learned a ton from from our first three shops. We're going to implement a ton of new learnings in the fourth. And I think that will continue as we get to all these new markets. So the answer to that is always going to be whatever the newest shop is. So right now that's TD Garden. I think it's our best shop. And I think our fourth will be even better. And our fifth will be better than that. And sixth and seventh. And at some point they'll all be, unbeatable, but we're still learning. We learn every day.
The empire grows. I love it, man. All right. Card question. Chris Costa, do you want a PSA 10 gold prism or a BGS 9510? We'll call it a true gem. 3-color NT RPA. What would you prefer?
You had to throw a 3-color in there, huh?
Yeah, had to.
I want to give you a straight answer. I mean, it's so dependent on the player, right? You think of like Jason Tatum, there's very few, even like 2-color patches out there, or like patches, right? So I think it's player dependent. I'm such a sucker for golds, though. Oh, this is tough. Andy at Indy Card Exchange would kill me. I know he's a gold guy through and through, but I'm gonna go NT RPA 3-color true gem. Come on, it's the best. It's the best card in sports, and it's tied to a player's best card in existence, which is their logo man. So, yeah,
I like that answer, and it's also incredibly hard to grade. Some people don't realize that. So
hard.
If you're getting a true gem, that's a tough one. All right, good answer. Best sports card story that you can think of off the top of the dome. Could be a rip, buy, a grade, anything.
Ooh. Rip by grade. Okay. I mean, this just happened. And I'm not just saying this because it just happened, but we got invited to rip on the red carpet of the Fanatics Super Bowl party in New Orleans a couple weeks ago. Michael Rubin's famous Fanatics Super Bowl party. So they put us right at the end of the red carpet. We had a pile of product, and we were just grabbing celebrities and athletes off the red carpet and having them rip with us. That was, to date, one of the coolest sports card experiences of my life, because I'm opening packs with Kevin Costner and Post Malone and Pete Davidson and Paul Skeens, and it was almost like unbelievable. Like, it was insane. I couldn't actually really wrap my head around it. So shout out to Fanatics for giving us that opportunity, and just seeing how much fun the most famous people in the world can still have opening packs of cards makes me so bullish on everything that we're doing as an industry. You got Pete Davidson like ripping into a pack, getting super excited. You got Sketch getting super excited, talking about all he wants is Houston Texans cards, CJ Stroud. Paul Skeens is talking about his 101, patch debut, and then we're ripping into Luminaries baseball. Like, just amazing experience. That's the best so far.
That's I don't know if many people can top that one, man. Red carpet rips with Chris Costa. I think that's a special one. All right, well, since we're talking about you, when you finally go down as the GOAT of sports cards, I need to know, can I be a roaster on your Netflix special?
You are in. You're on the panel. You're on the stage. Jeff, you can come too.
Nice.
Okay. I'm bringing Jeff.
bring the heat, take me down. Tom obviously had the most famous roast of all time, and he's been a champ and a sport about it. I think it was a really cool moment, showing somebody the ability to just kind of take it on the chin and have fun with it, laugh it off. But oof, my God, there was some.
It was brutal,
zingers. Man.
Yeah. All right. Well, we know we could talk to you for hours, and we appreciate the time you have. We got one more last question. We're gonna get you out of here because I know you got business to do. You got a lot going on up there, and it's also freezing, so you're gonna have to figure out how to get warm. But the last one, can Chris Costa take us out with one piece of advice that has stuck with you through the years?
Yeah, I'm a big quotes guy. Always have been. Thomas Edison, Henry Ford. All the biggest inventors and influencers. So there's an Edison quote. It's many of life's failures are people who didn't realize how close they were to success when they gave up. And I always tell people, keep going, right? That's been my, I call it moniker, tagline. It's just how I say bye to people or encourage people when they're doing something I think is super cool. It's just keep going, because especially in a space like this, we're all doing something different and unique, but also something super similar and alike at the same time. And for people like you, Jameel, when you started your shop, I'm sure there was 100 moments where it's like, what am I doing? Right? What's going on here? Same for me. Oh my God, card shops, man, it's gonna kill me. And you just got to keep going, and you don't know how close you are to that tipping point, right? It's a great book by Malcolm Gladwell, by the way, Tipping Point. Go read it. But there's a tipping point in everything in the world, and you don't know how far or how close it is. But the second you reach the tipping point, all bets are off. So keep going. That's the best advice I got.
It's good. It's good stuff, man. We'll appreciate you, buddy. And it's just it's fun to see the journey. Like I said before. For those of you who don't know, make sure you're following Chris. You have your own Instagram, and then I think you have 3 or 4 different Instagrams for the shops and Card Vault. So do you mind sharing that? Because I know a lot of people want to know how to follow you.
Yeah. You can follow me at It's Chris Costa on Instagram, right there at the bottom of the screen. You can also follow our shops and our journey now with Tom at Card Vault by Tom Brady. And we also have our live box breaking channel at Card Vault Breaks. So those are all 3 of us on Instagram. We're live on Whatnot and Fanatics Live. But those are the best 2 places to follow our journey. And then you can find your way to other stuff like X and TikTok and all that good stuff.
Last thing, speaking of breaks, I asked Smitty if he could give me a question for rapid fire. He said, make sure you ask him who his favorite employee is. And then if he doesn't say me, I'm leaving. So I took that one out. But
God.
Shout out to Smitty. Shout out to Smitty.
Great example of how lucky we've been with people. Smitty's been with me since day one, as have a bunch of our employees, and we're so blessed to have good people around us, as I know you are. It's the backbone of doing anything in this industry, is having a good circle. It started with guys like you, and I've mentioned Andy and Bannister and Mike, and it starts there. If you're a collector and you're doing shows, you know how important your circle is. And then if you start a business, it's your employees around you. So shout out to all the Card Vault day ones, including Smitty. Yes.
Well, amen to that, man. We are looking forward to seeing the growth with Card Vault by Tom Brady. And thank you for just making some time to spend some time with the Meelypod Hobby Podcast.
Thanks, brother. Jeff, good to see you. Jameel, I love you, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, Chris, you too, man. Jameel, that was great stuff, and I'm excited just to see the journey and everything that is being built there, and certainly what you guys have done. So it's pretty special. And again, I think for those that are just understanding the community or trying to decide if this is something you want to do, I mean, there are a lot of really good people a part of this that'll guide you the right way and make sure that you're not getting screwed some way, somehow, or ripped off, because they actually care. And, there's that huge interest to just put a smile on your face or somebody else's face. So, Jameel, I think that's the neatest part about all this. Yeah.
Just another example of people in the hobby that love the hobby first. They love their customers, and they're putting out a good product. And when you talk about good product, I mean, that is what Card Vault is. And you're just seeing it. They got Tom Brady as an investor. What other requirement do you need to have a good business and to have somebody like that come along and be a business partner? So it's cool to see. And as you guys saw, Chris, just a great person.
Yep, no doubt. All right, we'll take a break. We'll talk about some of the new wax that is coming out when we come back on the Meelypod Hobby Podcast.
Hey, this is Ben. I'm excited about the Upstate Card Show here next Friday and Saturday. We are looking forward to everything going on. We'll be going Friday and Saturday all day. Saturday, there'll be free stuff for kids at all the tables. We're also going to have breaks. I'm going to help you be breaking Pokemon and baseball cards that are going to be free for the kids. We actually have Topps Rip Night Saturday night where there'll be free pizza and drinks. There'll be prizes. There's a raffle. Free stuff all weekend. We're really excited about it. Come out, bring your stuff, trade, buy, sell, and have some fun with us this weekend at the Upstate Card Show.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life. And the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans. Well, great stuff from Chris Costa, and again, just fascinating, all the things that are certainly in the works and growing. And Jameel, I love the the idea that he had of trying to bring in some of the best athletes in the world into some of these interactions and things like that. Because I just remember, that was some of the funner times for me where I'd go to spring training games and, it not nearly what it was now, where you could actually go to the players' parking lot and you see Greg Maddux walk into his car and I'd get him to sign something, and it just left this impression on me. And now I don't think you have those opportunities anymore because there's so many more people. They're certainly, I guess, sectioned off for people, more security, and you can't get up close and personal. But if you can create these type of experiences all around the country, then I think that would then get more people into wanting to be a part of things like you did with DJ Lagway. I'm sure there were some kids that, were infatuated. Oh my gosh, there's DJ Lagway, and offering that. And then now they're like, they got a card and now they're in love for life. So I think that type of goal is really, really cool to see. And, the journey that he mentioned that you guys are on and trying to bring that to everybody.
Yeah, I think, Chris, the opportunities are endless. I mean, he's such a good, crafter and networker. And I think he'll build some really unique things happening. I think I even heard him say on another podcast, something along the lines of, we can't wait to have Tom Brady and friends involved in, the experiences that we're going to look to plan out. And you think about that and the network that Tom has. So bringing these kinds of people into the hobby creates excitement. It's going to create such a buzz for people who have no idea what's going on. And like he said multiple times, cards are cool again. That is a statement that I think resonates more so than ever in seeing so many different people. I mean, you talked about the red carpet, the Super Bowl. How cool is that to be able to just rip cards with all these people that nobody would really think that they're card people outside of maybe Paul Skeens, right? But I just think that we're in a unique place to see growth. And that Fanatics statement a few years ago for people that were, a little upset when Fanatics came involved and they said they wanted to 10x the hobby. We're starting to see, I think, the light at the end of the tunnel and how that could potentially happen. There's a lot of work that has to get there, but the 10x the hobby is something that I would love to see. And I would venture to say that we've probably seen a slight increase, since they've gotten involved. And Chris kind of alluded to that with the marketing and the players and things that they brought alongside in the growth, for what the hobby is. So I'm excited, man. I'm looking forward to it. And, we're going to create those experiences as well through our shops. And, DJ was one example with, Caleb Dressel not too long ago. We're going to have Jason Williams, White Chocolate, at our shop in just a few weeks, March 29th. PSA is coming. So creating those experiential type events. And then I keep forgetting, we have the Upstate Card Show right here this weekend, which is a massive event for the community, right? Bringing people out, bringing kids out, bringing families out, buy, sell, trade, grade. Like that's the new lingo. And so how can we'd be better at that? And I think we're all on that same track. So Chris does it a little bigger than we do. And I'm so happy to watch from afar because I would never want all the responsibility that man has. But it's just fun to kind of be amongst this and to see the camaraderie amongst the shop owners.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, if people are coming to the show this weekend, what's some of the new product they can try to get some cool things with?
Well, for the first time in a long time, Jeff, Topps Chrome Football, a true Topps Chrome set is coming back. It's going to be unlicensed, but it is going to have, it has a massive rookie checklist, by the way, but it's going to have the first autographs of Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, Caleb Williams, Penix, Neighbors, all these guys that we haven't really had an opportunity to get much autograph stuff from through Panini. It's going to be an overflow. So Topps Chrome Football comes out Wednesday. Hobby Breakers Delight, Blasters, Megas, all those kinds of things will be available. We'll have them at the shops. You can always, of course, get them at Meelypops.com, Meelypops.com. But, the Superfractor is going to be that chase, the one-of-one Superfractor of some of those big rookie quarterbacks. So big excitement. We haven't seen Topps Chrome Football as a standalone release from Fanatics yet. So it's going to be a fun rip. That just like we saw with Topps Chrome Basketball with Wembanyama's autographs and his rookie card logo. We're going to see that now with the football stars. Another big release that's coming out is another Star Wars product, Top Star Wars Hyperspace, which is, we talk about these non-sports worlds and Pokemon or Marvel or Star Wars. We've been running breaks on a product called Galactic Antiquities for the past couple weeks, hitting card after card. Last night we had a break where we hit, and I'll put it up on screen, an Angel Avila's big 5x7 sketch of Luke Skywalker that probably is worth somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000. But yet people don't realize that's a world outside of just sports cards, right? So we have a new set coming out, Top Star Wars Hyperspace, which is kind of like a Chrome technology card. It should be fun to kind of see what comes out of that. And then Prism Basketball. Last week we had WNBA Prism Basketball, and it's been wild. This week we have 24-25 NBA Prism Basketball. So all those new rookie chases, for whether it be Connect or Edie or whoever you're looking at, these guys are all going to be in there. Of course, you're going to have the FOTL options. You're going to have all the chases with the golds and the rookies. Chris was talking about golds earlier, so maybe you can chase a gold rookie of one of the big basketball players. And another big release for Panini is Spectra Football. People love that set. Kind of a high-end product coming out this week. Really nice patch autos of players and just a good card stock. Spectra is kind of a favorite of a lot of people. And then for you soccer heads, I know we had some bad news about soccer at the beginning, but we have some good news in that a new release, 23-24 Immaculate Soccer is coming out. And that's a Panini product, which they always do a really good job, real thick card stock, but they have a lot of good autographs in their checklist. So looking forward to seeing what comes out of that product that's been delayed a little bit. And then a couple ones from Upper Deck. You got OPG NHL Hockey, and then Metal Universe Champions Hobby, which if I'm correct, I got to go back and look. Don't quote me on this. Don't beat me up if I'm wrong, but I think this set has a precious metal gem card of the Nike ad Michael Jordan 84-85 where he's jumping in like on a street court with the black pants and the white shirt. I think they were able to attain the rights or create something where they created a card for that image, which means there's going to have a 1-of-1 gold, greens out of 10, reds out of 99. And so kind of a sneaky product people may not know, but if you're a Jordan collector, that should be a very, very interesting card from Upper Deck coming out. So a big week. We got all sorts of releases like normal, Jeff, but just another big week. And I'm looking forward to seeing kind of this Chrome football, rush, see how people kind of will return back to Chrome football and how it sells.
Yeah, I used to love Topps Chrome back in the day, so I'm definitely going to have to get one of those. Normally baseball guy, but I mean, that sounds exciting. And I think the cool part too is, maybe people don't, if you get a box before the season starts, then you don't know how good players are going to be, or it's taking chances. But now all of a sudden, since the season's over, if you end up pulling a Bo Nix or something when he had a good year, it's like, oh, sweet, that thing is awesome. Way more than what you would have thought of, 6 months ago, pulling that box.
People get upset that they don't get their releases in the season, right? But obviously the manufacturers have their reasons for putting stuff out later. Here's a cool thing to think about, what you just said. All those quarterbacks from this class now have the next 6 months to get better, to probably not get injured, and probably not have a poor performance on the field to be kind of downgraded. So the truth is, from this point on, you're going to see only an increase in those kinds of cards because the hype is going to grow for next football season.
Sure.
Jane Daniels being a guy who, I watch all the different pundits and talking heads talk about him being a top 5 quarterback. So, it's one of these things where you have to say, hey, there's a good take to trying to open some Topps Chrome football. And the nice thing about Topps Chrome is they do a lot of veteran stuff as well. So you got Tom Brady autographs that you can chase, Barry Sanders, Emmett's in there. I saw a dual autograph of Palomalu and James Harrison. So that's going to be a fun stuff, for people to just chase and go after. So the fandom and I think the collectability of Topps Chrome is coming back. And then next year they'll be licensed. So it'll be interesting to see just kind of that momentum moving into these other releases.
All right, you talked me into it. I'll get a box.
All right, sweet.
Well, and we're going to be talking a lot next month about something special. I know March is a big month. We've had a lot of males on the podcast here, but it's time to transition because there's a lot of great females out there, a part of the hobby, a part of this industry that are doing some really special things.
Yeah, so March, we kind of wanted to do something significant to celebrate women in the hobby. I think that's, and in recent news too, we talked about it last podcast and how there's been remarks and things that have kind of put a damper on that. And I think that we forget that there is a population of women in this country who love sports cards and they love non-sports cards, and they're underrepresented, and they don't get the love that they deserve. And it's exciting to see what's happening with women in the hobby. So March is National Women's History Month. And so we're gonna focus on the majority of our guests being women. I think 1 week we're gonna try and get Jason in for before the autograph signing. But we are going to start out with our good friend Stephanie from Mama Breaks, who literally is a mama who was raising her kids and got into breaking, and she'll be our next guest. And has just done an incredible job with building a business and embracing a community, and not just sports cards, WWE cards. She's done a ton with like Rhea Ripley and dressing up as Rhea Ripley and doing really cool things with that. We've seen an incredible world of her growing her Star Wars community and doing breaks and stuff on the platform. So I'm excited to kind of talk through kind of some of these things as we get into to March. And then we'll have some other special guests as well. I'll keep those under wraps. But Stephanie's going to be awesome for our next podcast. So please join in and make sure you come check out episode 33 as we talk with her and get some insight.
Larry Bird episode. First 33
right.
that came to mind. So that 33. Is a good one. Well, I wish you the best up there this weekend in South Carolina. Again, if you're in the area, make sure you head over there. A lot of great releases coming out, but all the rest of the stuff, the trading and just the camaraderie and understand what it's all about is really special. The community is awesome. So come be a part of that up there, and certainly down here when we welcome Jameel home.
Well, thanks, man. We appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing everybody at the Upstate Card Show. It's Friday and Saturday this weekend, February 21st, 22nd. So if you are anywhere in that southeast quadrant or anywhere in South Carolina, southern North Carolina, North Georgia, come make the commute. It'll be a lot of fun. Friday night's a sneak peek, and then Saturdays all day, ends at 6 p.m. But then we're going to have our RIP night here at the shop at 6:30. So there'll be a lot going on inside the shop, outside the shop, and, of course, vendors from all across the southeast, bringing their cards and collectibles and Pokemon and all that, selling and trading. We'll have grading opportunities. You guys have met Justice on one of our previous podcasts. He's going to be set up with some team members, and Meelypops grading will be set up to help you figure out if it's worth grading. I mean, Chris, this is all full circle here, but Chris was talking about education, and I think that's a key thing, is that we're going to offer that for free. If you submit something at the show too, we're going to hook you up with a free voucher to bring back another grading item in the future. We're going to put that on the house. So a lot of cool things, exciting moving forward for this show. Looking forward to seeing just the community up here in South Carolina, because they are just a passionate fan base, man, and a lot like we have back in Gainesville. So looking forward to this weekend. I hope to see you guys at the show.
All right, buddy. Appreciate you. All right, that is Jameel. I am Jeff. We'll do it again another time on the Meelypod Hobby Podcast.
Thank you for joining us. We will see you next Thursday at noon.